I'm Richard Taylor and I run the Weta workshop here in Wellington, New Zealand. We've spent the last 6 years working on Lord of the Rings, then had the great opportunity to do some design work on Evangelion.
I'm Ben Wooden. I've had the pleasure of actually heading up the design team for Evangelion, and man, what a great difference from Lord of the Rings to move into something as iconic for a huge audience base, but such a different level of imagery and style to it. So for us, it's been the start of another great adventure.
Truly wonderful.
It's got to be the Evas themselves. They're such a strong icon within a sea of giant robots and giant technology. We've got these creatures masquerading as robots, cutting a silhouette in an image that I don't think is captured in many other shows of that genre. There's something really special about the Evas themselves.
I really love the fact that this post-apocalyptic world, this post-war or post-disaster Japan is new and clean, that it isn't a Mad Max wasteland of burning tyres and rubble. The fact that they have, the original designers visualised a world that continues on. It builds on the ruins of the old world, the phoenix that rose out of the flames, and it's been wonderful being involved in the design process, developing the brave new world that has grown out of the old. We had the great fortune that the people at ADV made contact with us through some associated friends. It's very unusual to have the opportunity to bring what is truly one of the great animated series and icons of Asian television culture to the Western world, and have a Western design team get to explore and experiment with these incredibly strong and lively motifs. But for us to be given that opportunity and to have the chance to reflect on where those design motifs had come from and the culture that inspired them was a really wonderful gift from the ADV team to our group here at the workshop.
Oh, totally. And the cool thing about working with these guys is that from day one, I've always had the impression that they just want to make the film because it's going to be cool. They want to introduce it to a new audience, and they just want to make it because it needs to be made, not because it's a good money spinner or any of this sort of thing. They're as passionate about making the film as we are, and it's such an exciting opportunity to work with these guys.
Yeah, I really feel they could have made a film adaptation of this animated series any time over the last years, but they have bided their time. They have waited till the world of digital, physical effects, that world of filmmaking has reached its zenith, has reached the high point that it is at today, so that the animated world of Evangelion can be realised through filmmaking techniques. Like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings could have been made any time over the last 50 years by any filmmaker. It just wouldn't have been the film that Peter made. And I think likewise, this film could be great because they've chosen to wait till a time where technology has caught up with the vast and incredible vision of the original concept.
Yeah, totally. It's going to be really exciting to see these things brought to life, and live action adaptation of comic work is always really difficult, and that's just at a level where you're trying to relate the human characters from a comic format or a cartoon format into the real world. But to bring these 250 foot tall biomechanical entities to life within a real look at the city and see them moving in our physical world is just going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
I must say my first thought was Are we really worthy? I know this sounds odd, having come off the back of Lord of the Rings. I never thought that with Lord of the Rings. I thought, what a wonderful and rich opportunity to be offered. This is part of the cultural inheritance that we as a group of people come from. But why us? Why would we be given this incredible opportunity to explore the world of what is as much an icon of the Asian culture as something like Lord of the Rings is of the Western culture? And I thought that it would be difficult for us to really analyse and get into the very heart of where that original product and concept had come from. But it was amazing how quickly, utilising the source material and turning back to the Bible of the original show, that we were able to assimilate into that world.
Yeah, and put a new spin on it, see it through quite fresh eyes, I think. And just because it has its popularity base is so firmly rooted in Japan and Japanese television, doesn't mean that it can't become something iconic in the West as well. Just as Lord of the Rings has taken quite a strong hold in Asia, I think there's some great cross-pollination of film styles, storytelling styles that are going on nowadays. To be perfectly honest, I hadn't actually watched the show at any great level before I started working on it. And I sort of was vaguely aware of it. And then we got the show and devoured the 8 DVDs twice in a row. And was just blown away by the content of it. And we just totally immersed ourselves in that world. And
it's funny, wasn't it? We had no vocab to do with this world when we started. I'd seen quite a bit of it, but not to a level where I'd become caught up in the world.
Yeah.
And a few other people knew the world quite well, but within a month it had entered our very conscience.
Yeah.
We would debate, as I'm sure people the world over debate about the world, the Neo-Genesis world, and we likewise would have active debate about our thoughts and realizations to do with the incredibly complex story lines and plot points. It's very interesting for us living in New Zealand, growing up on a diet of Western literature, to experience the very, very different storytelling process of Japanese television or Japanese animation, where there is such a wonderful story arc that is in quite contrast to our own.
Yeah, it's a totally different pacing and style of storytelling. And I think we've tried to embrace that at a design level. Obviously we're not telling the story, but the design work has to tell the story as fully as the script does. So even if there's unspoken things about the way we've looked at the Avas or the costuming or any of that stuff, we've tried to bring the same level of culture back into that, as unspoken but seen on screen at a depth. The same with the Rohan or any of those other cultures we develop. We're trying to really embrace it at the same level as that as well. So it's really exciting.
Today there is obviously a number of ways that this film could be tackled technically. If we have the great luck and great fortune to get to work on these films with ADV after the design process is completed, we would ourselves be campaigning very hard to use the hopefully seamless techniques of digital and physical interaction, utilising the gritty and real style of miniature construction and stitching those together with a combination of digital matte paintings, composited elements, and in the case of, say, the Evas, completely digitally animated characters. There's no doubt that today that digital animation has transcended the technical complications of the medium and can now create living, breathing creatures on the screen that you can actually have an emotional relationship with, that you can become emotionally linked in with. And I think in the case of the Evas, They are living entities. You do have to have some empathy with them. They can't be cold Gundam-style robots. They have to have some stronger essence. And I think a very subtle balance and a very subtle stitching together of practical physical elements and digital technology could bring the riches of these stories to life.
Yeah, it certainly creates an image on screen which is harder to break down for those people that are looking for the effects and the way it's being done, this mesh of physical and digital. You've got to keep people guessing all the time and just keep tricking them faster than they can keep up with it, so the image they see, they accept. And there is, as you said, there is something about miniatures, I think, that works better than digital environments. At the moment, that's probably not always going to be the case, but I think there's something really nice about the tangibility of a miniature, the handcrafting of it still. There's something far more magical on the screen.
I do really think that this world is a world of reality. The original authors never meant it to be a flight of fantasy or whimsy. They have written this world as if it's really happening in our future. And therefore, it needs to be grounded in reality. Let the story plot points add the fantasy to it, but let the environment around the actors have a level of gritty realism that adds an authenticity to the underpinning of the story.
Yeah.
And in turn, I think the fantasy and sci-fi elements will come through that, but be ever much more the stronger because of that reality base.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 200 or 300 foot tall creatures moving around in a real city. That's exceptional. So everything else has to be as real as possible, because you want the audience to appreciate what it would be like to see these things moving through a real city, or the impact they have on the environment, or how removed from our reality this situation is. But it is still our reality, and so you still really do want to ground people in a city they could walk around in and not feel like they were on an alien planet, or any of those things that we take for granted every day of our lives. The more of that's there, the more you draw the audience in. And so the exceptional becomes truly the exceptional, not just part of a bizarre fantasy roller coaster ride you're going on, or actually watching more than going on. Actually, you're more removed from it. So you want to pull the audience right back to some essence of reality.
Yeah.
Same things that were the most fun, and that's the biggest iconic images on the show. We had to make decisions really early on that we obviously didn't want to just redraw the Avas and redraw the elements from the show, but by the same token, the level of expectation and how great the imagery is cannot be ignored. So at a silhouette level, if you saw an Ava walking along a city line, you'd immediately recognise it. It's the same silhouette. And it's not till you get down close that you see that it's broken down and it's a different Ava from the anime show. But and the same with the suits. We wanted a suit that would work on a real person, but is immediately recognisable from the show. And it's these things. It's a fine line to walk, where you're not just copying what's being done, but you're still delivering something that is expected. So even though they're the best things to approach, they're also the hardest, I think.
I think as well that in the style of anime and the wonderful iconic richness of manga animation, so much is left to the viewer's imagination. It's minimalist, and to that end, the ability to imagine and inspire your own thoughts into the show is certainly played up to. And I think no stronger is the case in manga than in the case of the angels in this series. The angels are such a ethereal and esoteric creature, yet it draws such force onto the world. It is wiping. It is basically purging mankind off the face of this modern world. But they are these bizarre and esoteric concepts, these huge pyramids in the sky, these huge energy fields. Trying to realize that in a physical world and bring that to a design entity and actually put it down as an illustration for the team at ADV to appreciate and buy into, we found to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, it is. That is a really quite a tricky one. So, I mean, we've had the advantage of it being a little bit more freeform in the fact that, you know, they're not necessarily going to stick to the look of things, or maybe, you know, but it's an interesting one to go with, because it's given us great license, but man, to get that sort of imagery on a piece of paper so it sells at a level where you go, oh, yeah, I can see what it's going to do. It's really bizarre. It's a really quite an interesting one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of it, I mean, the rest of the environment for us has been, we know the tech level we want to work with, and we know the world that it's based in, the world that it's come from. But that's been easier in some respects, because, you know, we're just inventing cars or drawing aeroplanes and things like that, and I think there is a certain amount of freedom there. But
we knew we wanted to work within some confines. This isn't Star Wars. There isn't anti-gravity painted on the hulls of the ships. These things are tied into a technology 40 or 50 years in our future, and therefore technology has only progressed that much. We've played around with wonderful ideas on how they build their skyscrapers, how they, you know, imagine it, these massive EVAs are walking around firing these huge guns, spent shells are raining down into the streets below, cracking the tarmac, landing on cars. Who actually goes and picks up the shells? Coming up with the vehicle that actually goes and recycles the spent shells.
Yeah.
These things in a real world film need to be thought of and conceptualised.
Yeah. You think the shot of the brass falling out of a rotary cannon on the side of a helicopter is cool. Like you see, you know, casings the size of vans raining down on the street, smoking hot. And that's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Never like answering that question, eh? The chip in the red costume.
Ben designed our female leads and their costumes, and
it's hard work, man. It was awful work.
Yeah, it was tough, I tell you.
I didn't enjoy any of it. It was just
they are so beautiful, so beautiful. But favourite things. I really think, I personally don't think there's any particular favourite. I think for myself, it's watching the overall aesthetic of the world rise up together, where no one element jars against the others, that it feels like it's a homogeneous, very compatible world, where technology isn't racing ahead in one particular medium, leaving the rest of the world behind, but rather everything is raised to the same level. Blade Runner, that world to me always felt so tangible, as if when we entered the world of Blade Runner, everything was at a similar technical level, all the heights of technology were at a similar level. And I do think the world of Eva is similar to that end.
You know, there's a slight pyramid of technology. Obviously, everything based around the Evas is a new technology. But the drop-off is you come out into a world which is quite holistically the same. And I think the design work has sort of reflected it. There's nothing... I'd have to agree. I mean, if you were to ask any one of the design team what their favourite design element was, they'd have a bias towards what they were most involved in. But I think all of it's great. It's the picture being painted at the moment, it's that which is the most exciting thing to see, not any one element of it. Just the fact that it's working so well as a unit. It's good. It's really nice.
So we felt very privileged to be offered the opportunity to enter this world. How could you leave the designing on the Lord of the Rings and find something that would be as rewarding and as invigorating? But that's indeed the opportunity that we were delivered in respect to designing the world of Evangelion. The people at ADV have been so generous to give such confidence that and allow us such free rein to explore this world. So as we go on into the future, as the concept of the design is melded into the realities of the possibility of a feature film, we can only hope that we continue to be involved, and the opportunities for further development of this incredible world is there for us.
I think the other thing, which is, I certainly hope that when people see the work that's on this DVD, and you've already seen some of our drawings and magazines, that we're doing the right thing by the people who love Evangelion. And I'm sure we'll read about it on the net and stuff, but I really, really hope that the image that we bring into the live action screen is not an affront to those who really love what is a great show. So the responsibility and the challenge of that is amazing. You know?
Huge, yeah. So I hope we journey on with you, and all the best, and we continue to grow as fans of this show, as I'm sure all of you are. So cheers for that, and we'll get back to our work here on the film.
Cheers, thank you very much.